Hello, kiddies. This is Alice Cooper on Backstage Access, where the real show begins. And you better be listening, because I know where you live.
Standing all alone here in a tavern full of ghosts. It's 3 a.m., we're back again. Here's my toast, the first one.
Gus Griesinger here with Backstage Access. We're here with a man who needs very little introduction, but I'll give you a small one anyways. Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, original shock rocker, and now vocalist of the Hollywood Vampires, Alice Cooper. We're gonna get right into it. I know how busy you are. I want you to give the people a retrospect on the origin of the Hollywood Vampires.
Well, it's really very simple. I was doing a movie with Johnny Depp. We were doing Dark Shadows in London. And after the shoot that one night, I said, we're going to go down to the 100 Club in London where, I mean, everybody's played there from the Yardbirds to the Rolling Stones, everybody. It only holds 100 and some people. And I said, we're just going to be a bar band. You know, if somebody yells out Brown Sugar, we're going to do that. If somebody yells out Back in the USSR, we'll do that. And so I told Johnny, I knew Johnny was a good guitar player. You know, I said, do you want to come down and play with us? And he goes, sure. So he comes down, plugs in, and tore it up. I mean, my guitar players are sitting there listening to him play, going, this guy's great, man. I mean, he can really play. And when that was all done, I was over at Johnny's house in Los Angeles, and I was telling him about the Hollywood Vampires, the drinking club, you know. And I told him, I said, you know, it was like Harry Nilsson and Keith Moon, and you know, and T-Rex would show up, and John Lennon would come down, and all this. I said, and we would just drink until the last man standing, you know. And all these guys now had passed away. And I said, I would love to do a band that's just sort of like honoring all of our dead drunk friends. And Johnny says, well, I'm in, you know. And Joe Perry happened to be staying at Johnny's house. So Joe Perry just happened to walk in at that time and goes, I'm in. So now I got Joe Perry and Johnny Depp on guitar. Everybody fell into place then. Duff McKagan wanted to play. You know, Matt Sorum wanted to play. And then when we started the album, Bob Ezrin producing, then everybody was on the album. McCartney showed up, and, you know, he wanted to play on a song he wrote for Badfinger. And, you know, it all kind of fit together. Just, it was like Dave Grohl wanted to play drums on this song, and everybody had, you know, had their favorite song they wanted to do. And at the end, we started looking at Brian Johnson and Dave, you know, Joe Walsh. Yeah, it was amazing. Just Zach Starkey playing drums on stuff. So, I mean, at that point, we had a band.
When the fans...
Not really,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we weren't expecting to really go out and play anywhere. And then my manager said, well, you know, what we could do is we could go play 2 nights at the Roxy in Phoenix, in L.A. down here, and just donate the money, you know, to Music Cares or something like that. And then somebody offered us Rock in Rio. We went from 300 people a night to about 200,000 people the next night in Rock in Rio. So it was great. I mean, you know, everybody on that stage has played in front of 200,000 people before. And so it was really just fun doing all these cover songs. You know, we were basically just a glorified bar band.
Right. And when the fans come and see you this summer, what kind of songs can they expect to see besides songs obviously off the debut album?
Well, you know, I mean, now, unfortunately, you know, with people passing away, you know, we're doing some Bowie covers. We'll be doing a Lemmy, you know, covers. I don't know if we can fit in a Prince cover because none of us really knew Prince very well. You know, he was kind of a recluse. Mm-hmm. But I could see finding one of those songs and turning it into a rock and roll song. You know, I think it's just a matter of how you interpret the song. But I mean, you're tipping your hat to all the guys that are just dropping off.
Right.
And I had somebody that came up to me, I won't tell you who, and said, "How come you never do any of my songs?" And I said, "Well, you really don't want us to." Think of it. I said, "Yeah, you're alive, so you really don't want us doing any of your songs." And other than, we wrote 3 or 4 songs for the album also.
Right.
So we'll be doing 3 or 4 originals. That song, "Bad as I Am," that we did on the Grammys, that went to number 2 on the rock chart.
Right.
So that was actually a very, very successful record right there.
How did the Turning Stone in Verona become the first show for this U.S. run?
I think that our tour ends up pretty close to there, and we were trying to fit it in so that I could get 2 days of rehearsal with the band before we start doing shows. And so they'll probably go in 2 or 3 days before I get there and rehearse. And, because we are adding 3 or 4 songs to the show. And then I'll come in for 2 days and rehearse those songs, and then we'll be ready to go. I was expecting to do maybe 5 shows with the Vampires. And I looked at the schedule, it's 22 shows.
Yeah.
So somehow Johnny must have gotten out of some movie that he was going to do,
And you guys are actually doing, and besides the Turning Stone, you guys are doing another show in the Western New York area, Niagara Falls. I want you to tell me your fondest memory of playing either Niagara Falls or Buffalo or the Western New York area.
Well, I'll tell you what, one Halloween we played there. And that was the only Halloween that we ever came out on stage in costume. Because normally we just play ourselves, right?
Right.
And I figured, well, it is Halloween and everything. And in the end, we decided, no, the audience is going to be in costume, so let's just do our regular, thing. Except for one of our guitar players who decided he was going to be Jacqueline Kennedy. And he came out on stage, and I swear he looked just like Jacqueline Kennedy. I don't know, he had the pillbox hat on and the pink, suit and the whole thing like that. And he was, I kept looking, I said, it's amazing how much you look like Jacqueline Kennedy. That was in Niagara Falls. I think that was at the big casino there, one of those.
I think I was at that show. I think that was back in 2002 or 3, I think.
Yeah, it might have been. It was Eric Dover.
Yes, correct.
That was Jackie Kennedy, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. It was very interesting, to say the least.
and then the next year, it was about 10 years after that, we played in London on Halloween, and I called up Arthur Brown, and I said, it would be great at the end of this show if you came out and did Fire. And he says, do you know it? And I said, oh yeah, my band knows that song really well. If you wanna do Fire, and he came and he had the fire helmet on, and came out and ran into the audience with his head on fire and everything like that. It was great. Because Arthur Brown is great. I mean, he's really a lot of fun.
Talking about possibly the Hollywood Vampires going forward with Johnny's movie career, Aerosmith, obviously in your own band. Can you see this going further than the upcoming tour this summer?
Well, I mean, I know that we're always writing. Everybody's always writing. And we did our first album that was basically 90% covers, because that was the idea of it. We would do a T-Rex song, we would do a John Lennon song, we'd do a Harry Nilsson song, and it all worked out perfectly. It really was good. And then we wrote 4 songs for the album. And then we started talking, at the last time saying, well, why doesn't everybody just write? And then after the tour's over, we'll sit down and listen to some of the material and see if we want to do an all-originals album. I have a feeling that that's what we're going to do, because, I've heard some of the material, and it's really good. So, like any other band, we want to do originals. So, I'd love to get Bob Ezra to produce, and let's just see what comes out of that.
So you say it could be more tour dates possibly later going forward.
Oh yeah, yeah, and you know, a lot of it has to do with it's a very unique situation.
Correct.
Like, we've already lost Duff McKagan because
Right.
Guns N' Roses is not back together. Well, we weren't expecting that.
Right.
You know. So Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots
Correct.
is going to be playing bass.
Right.
And then I know Johnny's got movies he's got to do, and I don't know what Aerosmith's schedule is. I know our schedule is tight. I work pretty much 7 or 8 months out of the year. So it really is, you have to get to everybody and go, okay, we need a 6-week period where everybody cancels everything
Right.
and becomes a Hollywood vampire for 6 weeks.
Right.
And nothing is allowed to get in the way of that. You know, and that's pretty hard to do.
Right. Now, before I let you go, one last question. Just want to let you tell the fans what's going on with your band, Alice Cooper. Current update.
Well, we're on this whole tour. I'll tell you what, this is the best touring band I've ever had. Ryan Roxy, Chuck Garrick, Hurricane, Nita Strauss, 27-year-old, looks like a supermodel and plays like Jimi Hendrix. And then we got Tommy Hendrickson. We have 3 guitar players, which I love because we're a guitar rock band.
Right.
You know. And then Glenn Sobel just got voted best rock drummer. Our drummer did.
Right.
So, I mean, it's an unbelievably tight, big rock and roll band. And the show is very theatrical. We brought in little sections from Welcome to My Nightmare back into the show.
Great.
You know, with the Toy Box and Cold Ethel and Only Women Bleed.
Yep.
Songs we haven't done in a while. And then we have a rotating section in where, like, if you see the show Monday night and they come back Wednesday, there's maybe 2 or 3 songs that are switched, that are new in there.
Great.
So, you know, we overlearned a bunch of songs and we mix it up now so that you never quite see the same show twice.
Right. Well,
But a really tight show. I mean, it's musically, it sounds like a live album, you know.
And a new record coming?
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, we're working on the album right now. You know, as soon as this tour is over, we probably go right in the studio.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to Backstage Access.
So I came here to get fried. I'm raising my glass and tossing it very